Now, this is a farm fairly local to where I live, and I've recently got permission to shoot over it as the owner has asked me to try and reduce the amount of numbers of jackdaws, rooks, magpies and so forth coming to the yard and hoking through the troughs in front of the cattle in the background there, looking for meal and so forth mixed up in with the silage. Now, of course, while they do this, they dung over the edge of the troughs, they dung over the gates and the bars, cause a mess basically, and there's a possibility, of course, of a health risk. So the farmer told me that the main amount of birds seem to arrive roughly around 6 o'clock in the morning. I've tried here a couple of other times through the day and shot one or two birds, but never seen really any big numbers. So I've arrived this very early, wet morning, probably about just before 6 o'clock, and I'm setting up here just with a simple camouflage net strewn over these couple of hay bales. It overlooks the roof of the shed and the troughs, and hopefully it'll be able to give me a good opportunity or two at any birds coming down. Now, there's also a electric pole with wires running across the yard, and it's about 40 yards from where I am here, so I'm hoping if the birds don't land at the trough or the roof, I'll be able to get an opportunity or two up there, depending on how strong the wind or the breeze gets up. Now, I don't usually fit bipods to my rifle, so I'm using a little Caldwell sandbag to set the rifle on to give me a nice height, and it seems to work quite well because I can slide it back and forth over the top of the bales, while a bipod, the feet might catch in the netting that's holding the bales together. So once I get myself set up, I get the face veil on, and I'll just put my hat on too because the rim helps keep the camouflage net away from my eyes, and we'll sit down and see what happens. There was one or two birds about when I arrived, so hopefully it'll not be too long to some more of them arrive. I just have to make sure that the camouflage net is free of the muzzle and the end lens of the scope, and I'm ready to go. After a wee bit of waiting, the first bird arrives and lands right up on top of the roof, about 20 yards away from me. So I'll go for a nice easy headshot, hoping that the birds flapping about would knock it clean off the roof, but of course it didn't. It got stuck up there, and on a rainy wet day I wasn't for climbing up after it. I hoped the sight of the dead bird lying on the roof wouldn't put the rest off from landing. What they did do though was land on the electric wire running across the yard about 40 yards away, and I successfully took one with a nice heart and lung shot, which dropped with a solid thump down on top of the shed roof below it. After a while, another jackdaw landed in the wires running across the yard, so I got onto him with the scope and allowed the same sort of holdover as I had before. There was next to no wind this morning, so I aimed dead on between the shoulder blades. The shot was good, but I wasn't 100% sure till later when I went out and found him lying dead in the yard. After a while, I noticed a hooded crow swooped down into the yard in front of me from the roof of the shed above me, and I quickly went for a heart and lung shot and dropped him on the spot, but I could see his head was moving from side to side, so I decided to put another shot into the boiler room just to make sure. I went for a heart and lung shot instead of a head shot because I wanted the pellet to slow down as much as possible to stop any possibility of a ricochet heading back up towards the cattle. I gave it a minute or two and then went out to lift the hooded crow and any of the other jackdaws I could find that weren't stuck up on a roof. The hoodie was only about 25 yards away, so a nice range for an air rifle. and I managed to find one of the jackdaws I'd shot. Of course, the one that was still up on the roof, there was no chance of me getting it until it stopped raining anyway. I've worked on one or two farm roofs over the years, and I know when the tin gets wet, it's slippy, dangerously slippy, like standing on ice, so I left it well alone until the rain stopped and it dried up a bit. So I got myself back into position and started the weight again. Fortunately, it wasn't too long till another bird presented an opportunity. Again, about 40 yards away on the wires. I allowed the same sort of elevation and between the shoulder blades, and dropped them clean on top of the shed roof. After a bit more weight, I got another opportunity. The bird on the right's a collared dove. They're protected in Northern Ireland, so I gave that a miss and went for the jackdaw. And got another nice contact. The next opportunity, well, it wasn't really an opportunity. It wasn't even half a chance. While I was waiting, two birds swooped straight down into the trough. They were sitting on the edge about 20 yards away for a few seconds, but the shot wasn't on, the cattle was right behind them and it wouldn't have been safe, so they were left well alone. After a wee while, when things were quiet, I went out and lifted the few other jackdaws I'd shot that slid down off of the roof. They were a wee bit wet and soggy, but so would you be if you were standing in that rain all day. Once back, I got myself back under cover again. Hopefully they get another opportunity before I call it quits. Not everything around a farmyard's considered vermin that needs to be shot. These little chaffinches can feed away without causing any real ruckus or destruction. After a while, I noticed another couple of jackdaws land on the wire above me. Now, the wind's been coming and going through the morning. At the start, I didn't need to allow for anything. Then I found I needed to allow about an inch to the right, which is what I was doing here. And totally missed. The wind had died off and I didn't need to allow for anything at all. But that's hunting for you. After a bit more of a wait, I got my final opportunity for the morning. Another jackdaw on the wires. It seems to be a favourite spot for them, the perch. This time he aimed dead on and didn't allow any for the wind. The shot looked good and the bird dropped with a solid thump onto the roof below it. But I have to admit, it needed a second follow-up shot to finish it. I doubt the wind had changed again over the morning. Well, I've been patiently sitting for probably 3 hours and more, and decided to pack up and call it quits. I definitely was expecting more birds to be about, but with a lot of silage being cut in the area, the birds are maybe feeding in that instead of coming to the sheds. But what opportunities I did get, I made best use of, and I managed to pick up all but one of the birds, which is either still stuck up on a roof somewhere or fell down into some cover behind the sheds where I couldn't find it.